Hey guys! So I really wanted to do a tag video this week, so I decided I was going to do my first times tag. I'm kind of copying my best friend who also has a YouTube channel. Her name's Brianna. I'll leave a link to her YouTube below, so you should go check her out. And yeah, so let's start this tag. First question, who was your first love? Well, I don't really think I've been in love. I've been in those relationships where you say I love you, and definitely I don't think I have ever been in love. What was your first kiss? Not to brag, I was blessed with a really awesome first kiss story, at least for me. My first kiss was, of course, when I was 18 years old. It was my first real house party. This was my first party, the first time I've ever been drunk. I'm a square, oh well. How it happened was there's a bunch of people there and there's one other gay guy there. He was one of the cooler kids in school. I never hung out with him. I remember I was tipsy and I was sitting on the couch with my friend Ellen. We were for some reason talking about first kisses and stuff like that. He must have been eavesdropping because he was over there and he heard what I said and he was like, "What?" I must have been more drunk than I remember because I remember literally slinking off the couch, falling on the ground, and laying there in embarrassment. And I remember he came over, he just sat on top of me, and he was like, "Kiss me." And I did. I didn't know what I was doing. It probably was awful to him. But for me, it was like a magical moment. What was your first pet? My first, pet that was mine was probably a hamster. Who knows what I named it? Who knows what happened to it? I do know I went through a period where I got a couple hamsters and they eventually died. We just got them at this real sketch pet store. All the animals we got from there always died, so who knows. What was your first word? When I was little and they'd be carrying me around as a little baby, they'd go like, "Oh, Tyler, ooh, what's that?" So my first word was, yeah, what's that? Pretty impressive. I had 2 words as my first word, just saying. First best friend. Well, my first legit best friend would be this girl I met in preschool. Her name was Rihanna, not the singer. I went to her mom's daycare center. Believe it or not, I actually remember meeting her, even though who knows how old I was. I just vividly remember standing by the tree, and it was my first day at this place, and I was super shy as a kid. And I remember just looking at all the kids, being super sketched out because I was all by myself. And I remember this little girl coming up to me and asking me if I wanted to play hide and seek. We became best friends after that. We've been best friends all the way up to a few years ago where we kind of drifted apart, but we're still friends. I still see her all the time. Still think she's amazing. Still love her. So yeah, that was awesome. Okay, so I don't really get this one. It says your first fear. So I'm gonna say that the first thing that I can remember being afraid of. Have you ever seen the movie Fern Gully? Don't you know the shadow monster, whatever, in that? I remember watching that movie and getting the worst nightmares ever. So I'd have to say that was probably my first real fear. Who was the first person you text today? Well, let's see. It was my best friend Brianna, the one I mentioned earlier. She just texted me saying, "I'm awake," and I said, "Me too." Friendship. What was your first car? Well, my first car is the car I still have now. It is a Dodge Neon, all white. Pretty boring. It gets good gas mileage and that's all I really care about. So yeah. What was your first phone? Honestly, my first phone was my mom's old phone. It was like a brick, and I remember everybody was getting razors at that time and everybody was super cool. And I still had this small brick of a phone. What was your first date? My first date with a girl was probably in middle school, going to our local skating rink. I think that's the first one I can actually remember. The first date I went on with a guy, and we just it was my first week in Portland, and we just kind of walked around Portland because I had never been. I don't really remember what happened. That wasn't even that long ago, really. I don't know. I remember his name was Jose, that's all I remember. Who was your first boyfriend? Well, if we're gonna get technical, the first person I called my boyfriend, I lived in Portland, they lived in Eugene, where I used to live. We met online, I'm sure. Back then I was really into dating sites. And we talked every day, we Skyped a few times, and bing bang boom, he was my boyfriend. When I eventually did come down to Eugene again to go on a date with him, it was just awkward. I went back up to Portland and we were just nope, sorry. First person you've ever subscribed to on YouTube? That's a hard one. I was really into YouTube 4 or 5 years ago, so the first person I ever actually subscribed to would probably be these guys that I actually just rewatched yesterday. They were called Wasabi Productions. I was in love with them back then. Yeah. What was your first big purchase? So my first big purchase was with a credit card, which I still have not paid all the way off. Bad tie. It was a flat screen TV. I wanted it, and I had a credit card, and I hadn't really used it before. I was like, sure, why not? I calculated my paychecks. I was like, I can get that paid off in like 2 months. Psh. So I bought it. I had it for a while. I broke it like a year later. Technically, I do have that paid off. I've just like, paid, and then I've kind of like re-spent the amount, and then paid it off, and then re-spent the amount, and so technically by now I would have had it paid off. Let's just not talk about that anymore. What was your first job? My first job was a busboy at a diner called Terry's Diner. I only worked there like once or twice a week because I was still going to high school, and then I got promoted to like a host, and then I quit. I realized that number one, not worth it. Number two, I hated food service. And number three, for the amount of money that I was getting a week, I was pretty much spending on gas, so it wasn't even worth it in the long run. So I was just like, fuck you, goodbye. Okay, and last one, first time out of the country. And the first time and the only time I've been out of the country is when I went to England with my choir trip. I mentioned that a few videos back. I was only in like the 6th grade, so I didn't really get to really appreciate London, and I've always wanted to go back, especially now that I know a lot more. It'd be way more fun to go now so I can explore by myself or with friends instead of being dragged along with a bunch of other choir members, because that wasn't very fun. Oh, and fun thing that happened while I was in London, I got pickpocketed, which was super cool. I was wearing one of those wallets that go around your neck and like under your shirt. Me and the rest of the choir were walking because we had just gotten off the Eye of London, and we were going somewhere like back to the hotel or something, and then a huge crowd of people walked by and they like bumping into us. And apparently what happened was while people were bumping into me, somebody like cut it off my neck and like took it. I don't even know how they did it. All I know is I had literally just bought an ice cream like 2 minutes before, had the thing under my shirt, and then as soon as that big huge wave of people went by, it was gone. It had like $60 American money, and I think that was pretty much it. They didn't get off with a lot of it. My credit card, luckily, I had left on our tour bus, so thank God, because that could have just been bad. I would have had no money in London, and I would have been... Well, that's it for this video. If you liked it, please, please, please hit subscribe and the like button. And if you want to, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, whatever. I post a video, if not 2 videos, every week, so please watch out for those, and thank you so much for watching. Peace out, Girl Scout.